Good evening. Thank you all for joining us in this day commemorating the first Yortzeit of my father for blessed memory. This particular part, this siyum that I will be conducting shortly, will be the final event for this day. I would like to talk about my father and his legacy vis-a-vis the learning and understanding of text. Also, I will do the siyum on Tractate Tamid, who's mainly dealing with the issue of the daily offering, even though the last Mishnah deal definitely with the song of the day, what the Levites used to sing on the temple. And thirdly, I would like to discuss in short time the future of the Shannon Center and the obligation that we have as a group, as participant, to continue the work my father left for all of us to do. So I will start there. Father's mission in life was to create a system of understanding Jewish text that will be available for every person worldwide. The system's biggest benefit was the notion that it's accessible. It's written and understood in modern language. We use terms that are modern, trying to bring historical and emotional and realistic view on things. And that's what he did for many years. He did start with the Talmud, continue with the Tanakh, the Bible, did a commentary meanwhile on the Rambam with his students, and did a commentary on Mishnah, which we just completed the other day. All of these things together brought us the notion that the Jewish canon, where my father put it, on this small 5 books, the Tanakh, the Talmud, the Mishnah, the Rambam, and the Tanya, just the basic 5 books that everybody should know. They are the books that are giving us the most amount of knowledge of what we have to do. His emphasis was that everybody can do it. This is not our treasure trove. It's not something that we hold dear. It's something that everybody should hold dear. It's something that everybody should care about. It's something that without individual learning, he's not going to go for. One of my father's famous lines was that the problem with learning, that I cannot learn for you. You have to do your own learning. You need to be your own ownership of the learning. I cannot, in one way or another, I cannot do it for you. It's like I can't eat for you or I can't take a haircut for you. The person has to do the work by themselves. The person has to do the work in the best way that they can achieve. They have to do the learning. Now, the sages of old already said that not everybody can learn in the same way as the other. And therefore, a person has the responsibility to learn whatever he or she can. If it's 1 chapter in the morning, 1 verse in the morning, 1 verse at night, but the idea is to do it surrounding your life, surrounding your day, you're going to have it. That's part of my father's challenge. He wants everybody to learn. Somebody asked me the other day, and it's just something I think everybody can relate to. This year was, in every possibility, was a hard year. The Jewish people lost not just my father, many other important and well-renowned scholars who passed away this year. This is not to underestimate, God forbid, the death and dying of so many people from the epidemic in overration of this disease. Somebody asked me, maybe a little bit in a dark way, what do we care, the old people, And usually that individual referred to the issues in Italy, that you have a whole generation of elderly people who passed away. So besides the fact that obviously every human life is important, everybody has a story, everybody is as the Talmud referred to, olamum la'o, the full-fledged world, is something else there. We believed, and we still believe, that part of the transmission of Jewish law, part of the transmission of Jewish knowledge, part of the transmission of Jewish values is not only something that I do by myself because I read a book. It's part of our responsibility to teach our kids. Each one of those great scholars who passed away this year, and anybody else who passed away, we're a world that can teach us something, that can give us a history. They were a carrier of a knowledge to the next generation that we can no longer approach. It's our job to develop this, to create it, to become it, to be the next generation that we give and transmute our information. Which is one of the things I'd like to move on here from the Siyum. So the end of the tractate of Tamid, which constantly deal with what is the daily offering. The temple used to be a daily offering of an animal in the morning and in the night, the sunrise and sunset. That was basically the day of the temple. And the Talmud, which is again the shortest tractate in the Talmud, only 8 pages. Most of it is legends and Mishnah, but it talks about the development. And one of the interesting things is that over there you see in the text, an entire text of it, there's 8 pages, but it appears in other places in the Talmud, you see discrepancies, not on opinions, not a variation of opinions. You see things that are they're really, really contradicting to one another. They have facts issues. For example, the one most famous one, distracted, is a question that they bring up: how many gates were in the temple? So you would think that naturally the temple is important, as we just did Tisha B'Av, which is commemorating the destruction of the temple, and we earning for its the redemption, so to speak, the full redemption. You would think people know how many gates were in the temple. And all of a sudden, the debate, if there are 5 gates, 7 gates, or 8 gates, becomes something that is a serious conversation. You ask them, how is that possible? Because the answer is the same notion. There was a lack of transformation. There was a time when the information did not pass through, as you can imagine. There were wars, there were disasters, there were pandemics. The information did not pass in a wholesome manner the way it's supposed to be. So the end of this thing, the end of tractate Tamid, is dealing with the song of the Levites every day. Now, a person might think that is not important. That's what we sing in a temple. And maybe when when we'll have a new temple, will be a different song. Maybe we have a new Tehillim, and we have a new song, we'll sing something differently. Maybe not just the Levim will do it. So why it's important? So the Levim sang 7 songs for every day. And every day had a meaning why they chose that song. What was the importance of the song? The Mishnah goes on and on to describe it, why, and the commentators on the side explain it, why Sunday is this particular song and Monday this song. When they come to Shabbat, the song of the Sabbath day, which is actually referred to in the books of Psalm as a song of Sabbath, saying the song is not only about the Shabbat, the day of rest in the temple, or day of rest of the temple that was, because in a lot of ways, if somebody will go to the temple, it will be a bit shocked. A lot of the prohibitions that we have in our modern life were permitted in the temple. Well, actually, we're allowed to do them. Example, in temple, you're allowed to do slaughtering in Shabbat. You're allowed to do sacrificing in Shabbat. You're allowed to do things that you're not allowed to do outside the temple. The most prevalent example is, of course, the story of blowing shofar. We're not allowed to blow shofar in Shabbat. So if Rosh Hashanah, which is coming in 6 weeks, will happen in Shabbat, we will not blow the shofar. But if it was on the temple, you're allowed to do that. Something apply for part of the celebration of Sukkot, the tabernacle, that you celebrate with the 4 species, and you exactly the same thing. You're not allowed to do it outside the temple in Shabbat. In Shabbat, what is allowed in the temple. So it was a difference. But the thing he's trying to teach us that this Shabbat that we're talking about is the ultimate Shabbat. Is a Shabbat we call Chayei Olam Haba, the world to come. Now, the world to come, one might confuse it with the notion of Olam Haba or Gan Eden, paradise. It's two separate worlds. The world of paradise is not really Olam Haba. It's only referred to as the next world because it's not this physical domain we have, but it exists already here, just in a matter of different realm. The realm of the souls, but exists. So it's next to our existence. But really, when we're referring to the term Olam Haba, we're really referring to a term of a world that's going to happen after this cycle of the world, this regular time, when we'll get to a time will be a complete rest. That's where the Masechet Tamid ends, and this is really the Siyum. It's dealing with the world to come. My father, may he rest in peace, and the day we are celebrating his commemorating his life, he never had a day of rest. So as he's concerned, he worked 24/7. And I'm sure that even if he dreamed at night, the dream was what about his work? Every action he took was about to continuously his work day to day, week to week. That was his challenge. That was his work. And I think that's what he left us with. We talked about it many times, that my father left a major archive, have tremendous amount of words. We're talking about over 80 books that we can, basically issue on a regular basis. We have ability to provide other collections, thousands of hours of audio and video, thousands and thousands of articles, letters, and so on and so forth. All of this together is make a national archive, make something that is important as a nation. This word that he has, that he used, this word that he wants to dwell with them, the word that he wants to inspire people with since he was 16 till his dying breath, was only about continuing the work till we finish the work of this world. We have to work as much as we can to do the best we can to finish this, to bring it to the fruition of the knowledge of God will be everywhere in the world. That is what my father wanted. This is the task that we have. I'll ask you all to help us and to work with it, and more so, I ask you all to learn. Take something upon yourself on every day to learn something small. Not to put a plug in, but we just issued, in my view, and I think it's good, it's a good app. And we have most of the channels work will be there. As we see, we'll develop as one can. You have the ability to learn even one Mishnah, one segment every day. Read it, learn it, own it, and then teach somebody else. We have to continuously move forward. Together, we'll bring my father's message of let my people know to a reality. Thank you so much.